Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Yasodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana 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 Jai Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Girivardhari. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Haribo, Gauda Haribo. Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jayam Vaishnava Paramahamsa Parivajaka Varya. Stota de Sati Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Obhai Charna Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Jayam Vaishnava Paramahamsa Parivajaka Varya. Stota de Sati Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Singha Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki, and then the Vaishnava Brinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Kund Shama Kund Giri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki, Shri Purushottam Ketra Vipalamba Ketra Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki, Shri Madhujadasa Ganaiti Murti Mahabhav Prakash Jagannath Swami Ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Shri Mati Subhadramai Sudarshan Ju Ki, Shri Shri Radha Lalita Tota Gopinath Ju Ki, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki, Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaurahari Ki, Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki, Go Premanande Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So before we speak something on Srimad Bhagavatam, my revered spiritual master said that we should offer prayers to the Bhagavatam. Just as we offer prayers to Krishna, who said that Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarva Shri Prati Shloki Prati Akshina Koi. Just as Krishna is Vibhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so also is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a literary incarnation of Krishna. So as we offer prayers to Krishna, we also offer prayers to the Bhagavatam. This takes about 5 minutes. You can recite these together if you like. Narayanam namaskrityam naramschaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat vedi ramayaneshchaiva purane varate tata adavante cha madhye cha hari sarvatra giyate mukam karori vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. This is a traditional song that they sing in Orissa in what they call the Bhagavat Tungis. Bhagavat Tungi is a small like temple in the villages where the villagers would gather together every day and recite Bhagavatam. And they would sing this song traditionally. You're not going to be able to play Mridanga with this. I'll be very surprised. We can sing this and call in response. Paramananda he Madhava Padunga Luchi Makaranda Paramananda he Madhava Padunga Luchi Makaranda Se Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari Se Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari Harinka Name Vandavela Parikori Be Chakadola Rinka Name Vandavela Parikori Be Chakadola Se Chakadolanga Paraye Manamo Rahu Nirantare Se Chakadolanga Paraye Manamo Nirantare Rahu Ha Krishna boli jiva jao, manamo nirantare rahu. Ha Krishna boli jiva jao, Ha Krishna boli jao jiva, mote udara radha dava. Mote udara radha dava, mote udara radha dava, mote udara radha dava. Dharma projita kaitavota paramo nirmatsranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapachayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune kate kim va parayishvara Sadyo ridyavarudyate trikatibi sushushubistakshanat Nigamakopataro galitam phalam shukamukada mitra dravasamyutam Pivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mohoroho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka Anarto Pasamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Arhoksaje Lokasya Janato Vidvam Shakre Satvata Samhitam Yashyam Vaishyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Putite Pumsa Shoka Moha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Paranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Param Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Gyanam Param Giyate Tatra Gyane Vairagya Bhakti Sahitam Vaiskarmyam Aviskritam Tachchinvan Supaten Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchandaraha Arto Yam Brahma Sutranam Bharatarta Vinyanaya Gayatri Vasharupo So Vedartha Paribrimitaha Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Sarvam Sat Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarup Shri Bhagavata Tate Veda Shastra Hoite Parama Mahatva Chari Veda Upanishade Citraketu Lila Tara Arta Lanavyasa Korila Sanchaya Jai Sutre Jai Rut Vishaya Vachana Bhagavate Seru Slokani Bandana Jiveranistara Lagi Sutra Koilo Vyasa Mayavari Bashishunile Hoya Saivanasa Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnava Stane Ekanta Shayakoro Chaitanya Charane Bhagavata Jainamane Sejavana Sama Tara Sasta Ache Janme Prabhu Jama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, for the next 3 sessions, taking place today and tomorrow, we'd like to speak something from the 17th chapter of the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which speaks about the cursing of Maharaj Citraketu by Parvati. But before we do that, I'd like to say a few words about Srimad Bhagavatam. It's said that Prati Shloki, Prati Akshay, Nanatha, that from the beginning, the middle, and the end, wherever you go in Srimad Bhagavatam, the topics are simply all about Krishna. The Bhagavatam, first canto, says that Krishna swadhamapagate dharma jnanadi bisaha kalo nastra drisamesha pranarko danodita. That when Krishna left this world, he took with him dharma and knowledge, but he left behind with him the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments on that. This is a very interesting thing. Please listen. This is in his Sartha Darshani commentary. He says, Iti vachana vyanjita Shri Krishna pratimurti katvena mama ham eva birupa kaivalya diti nirasta dadvinan yasadrishyataya Shishuka parikshabhyam Shri Krishna eva jyotisu sahasram suriva puraneshu bhashvan dvarasa skandatmako stadasa sahasra chadano mahajana vanchitarta kopatarur evavatara. He says that this verse is Krishna swadhamapagate, indicates that the Bhagavatam is another form of Krishna. And because of that, this Srimad Bhagavatam, it has no comparison to any other literature. He says that Sri Shuka Parikshabhyam Sri Krishna Eva Jyotisu Sahasram Surivya, that the Bhagavatam appeared through Shukadev and Parikshit, indicating that for this Srimad Bhagavatam to appear, there should be both a speaker and a listener. And also indicating that the purpose of that function of hearing is not something like reading books in the university or even like hearing a sermon in the church. But the Srimad Bhagavatam class, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is meant to appear. Krishna personally appears when there's a proper listener and a proper speaker. So the Bhagavatam appeared through Shukadev and Goswami and Parikshit. Just like, he says, just as the sun appears amongst the planets, the Bhagavatam shines amongst the Puranas. There's so many different planets. There's also so many different Puranas. But in the same way that the sun is very, very effulgent amongst all the different planets, similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam amongst all the different Puranas. And he says that the Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 forms, which indicate the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, just as the sun has 12 forms for each month of the year. The Srimad Bhagavatam also has 12 forms. And he says the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam are just like its leaves. And in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a kalpataru. It's a wish-fulfilling tree that's appeared in particular Mahajana Vanchitartha, to fulfill the desires of the great devotees. This is Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a very nice thing to be able to come together and recite some Srimad Bhagavatam. I would like to, with the devotees, recite this whole entire chapter and speak something about it, go over different verses in it. So this is the 17th chapter of the 6th canto. I hope we can show them up here. And we can all recite. I'd like to recite today in this first session, the first 15 verses of the 17th chapter of the 6th canto of Bhagavatam. I'm also just going there. Okay. Under text 1. A little further. No, that's just a chapter summary. Nietzsche. Just the slokas. Sanskrit. There's no such thing as slokas in English. Okay, we can recite together. Shishukuvacha yachaschantarito nantas tashyai kritva dishe nama vidyadaras chitraketas Chakcha gagane chara salaksham chanam arvyahadat palindriya stuyamano mahayogi muni bi siddhacharanai kula chalendriya dronishu nana sankalpa saidishu rame vidyada stribir gopayan haram ishvaram Ekadasa vimanena Vishnu dattena Vashvata Giri samdadrise gachan Paritam siddhacharanai Alingya kakritam devim Bahuna muni samsadi Uvacha devya srinvatya Jahosatchaistad antike Citraketu uvacha Esha loka guru sakshad dharmam vakta sharirinam aste mukhya sabhyayam vai mituni bhuya bharyaya jatadaras tibratapa brahmavari sapapati ankikritya striyam chaste gattahri prakrito yata Prayasam prakritaschapi striyam rahasi bibrati ayam mahabratam dharo bibharti sadhasi striyam Shishukuvacha Bhagavan apitachitva prarasya gadadridripa tushnim babuvasadasi sabhyaschatat anubrataha Ityata virya vidusi vibhune bhava sobhanam ruhasa devi dristaya nyujitatma bhimanini si parvatyuvacha ayam kim aduna loke sastadhanda dhara prabhu asmad vidanam dushtanam nilajam ta pripakriti Na Veda Dharmam Kila Padma Yonir Na Brahma Putra Brigunada Dadya Na Vaikumara Kapilo Manuscha Yeno Visi Ativartanam Haram Esham Anuvdyeya Padabja Yugmam Jagad Guru Mangala Mangalam Swayam Yachacha bandhu paribhuya surun pasistidistastadayam hidanya ayam arati vaikunta paramulo pasarpanam sambhavita matistabda sadhubi paryupasitam ata papiya samyonim asirim yahi durmate Yateha bhuyo mahatam nakarta pucha kilabisham. So we can stop there. So text 1, Prabhupada translates, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, after offering obeisances to the direction from which Ananta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had disappeared, Citraketu began traveling in outer space as the head of the Vidyadharas. So this pastime of Citraketu is connected with Vitrasura Lila, and it's one of the most important sections of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's also, as the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we were mentioning, is Krishna. Krishna always has something relevant to say to us. Srimad Bhagavatam always has something relevant for us. So we should look for that. It's not just some history or some mythology, some interesting thing, or even some kind of morality we hear about, or something which gives us some more piety or something. But Srimad Bhagavatam is a person, and Srimad Bhagavatam is a message for all of us. So we hear in the 14th chapter of this canto, in the beginning of that Maharaj Parikshit, after he heard that Vitrasura was a devotee, and not just a devotee, but a great devotee, and not just a great devotee, but a greater devotee than Indra. Very interesting situation that the Bhagavatam gives us, because Indra is Devaraj. He's the king of the Devas. You could accurately say that he's something like the Supreme Temple President of the universe. He's like the GBC of the universe. He's in charge of Dharma in the universe. But we hear that there's a demon, an asura, Vitrasura, who is greater than him. And so we can understand immediately that the Bhagavatam, one lesson it's giving us, is that it's not always so cut and dried. Who is a devotee, who is a demon, who's not. So Sukadeva Goswami, he, in response to Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry, how is it possible that Vitrasura was a devotee, then he began to speak something about the life of Citraketu. And just to refresh our memory about that, he said that by the blessings of Angira Muni, he had a son by his wife Kritadyuti. And Maharaj Citraketu, he had many, many different wives. And Kritadyuti, when she gave birth to this child, all the other co-wives became very envious, and they made some plan, and they poisoned that child, and the child died. And this way Angira Muni's prediction was accurate for Citraketu. Citraketu prayed to Angira Muni, you please give me a son. And Angira Muni told him, I gave you this benediction. He said, but this son is going to bring you two things. Great happiness. And it's also going to bring you great lamentation. And this is the nature of material enjoyment in this world. So at that time, Citraketu Maharaj began to lament like anything. And Angira Muni came back there with Narad Muni, and they brought the child back to life. But the child now was speaking like a self-realized soul. And the child told them, who's really my father? Who's really my mother? And after hearing instructions from that dead child, Citraketu and his wife, they had an attitude adjustment. And they worshipped Lord Narayan. And he took initiation from Narad Muni. And Citraketu began to chant this mantra. And in 1 week, after chanting this mantra, I found that very interesting in the Bhagavatam, Citraketu got initiated. 1 week later, he had darshan of Lord Vishnu. Such a powerful thing. Why is it we get initiated, and after 30 years or more, whatever, still we don't have anything like that? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes in one place that there's one verse in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, which is the prayers of Vitrasura, which is a prayer that we should recite every day before our japa. Ajata paksha iva mataram kaga stanyam yata vatsatarakshudhartaha priyam priyeva vyushitam vishana manoravindaksha didikshate tvam. Ajata paksha. What is an ajata paksha? Paksha, and I think in Hindi, at least in Oriya, in Bengali, we say paki. Paki means a bird. So paksha in Sanskrit means a bird. Ajata paksha means a bird that doesn't have developed wings yet. That bird is very much dependent on its mother. It's living in a nest high in the tree. It has no way to go anywhere. It has no way to acquire any food. So ajata paksha iva mataram kaga. That bird has very, very intense desire to see its mother. Stanyam yata vatsatarak shudarta. A baby calf is so hungry and is hankering for the udder of its mother. Priyam priyeva vyusitam vishana. And a woman whose husband has gone away to a foreign country, she's always hankering to see him again. Manora vindaksha the dikshate tvam. Vitrasura prays to the Lord in the same way, I want to see you. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur very interestingly says this is a mantra, this is a verse that we should recite before we chant our japa. Maybe you'd probably like to know what verse number that is. I can tell you in one moment. What is it? 6:11:20. 6:11:26. Okay, good. So that should be our attitude. This is what we want. What do we want from this mantra? We don't want liberation, the janam, the sundarim. We don't want beautiful women. We don't want this thing. But what we want to see the Lord. So Citraketu, in 1 week after getting initiated, he had darshan of Lord Sankarshan, along with the 4 Kumaras. And Citraketu then began to offer prayers. And then he began to travel in outer space. He was given an aircraft by Lord Vishnu himself. That's pretty good. And he began to travel in outer space with a group of Vidyadharas. And he was enjoying life for millions of years. He went to Mount Sumeru, where he was surrounded by all kinds of Vidyadhara, beautiful women. And how was he enjoying with them? He was doing kirtan. With all those beautiful ladies, he was doing kirtan of Lord Krishna. And in this chapter we hear that one day when he was traveling in outer space, on this plane given to him by Vishnu, he saw Lord Shiva with Parvati sitting on his lap in a very kind of intimate position. And he was surrounded by different siddhas and charnas and different great saints. And when Citraketu saw that, he began to laugh. Text 2 and 3 of the 17th chapter describes, being praised by great sages and saints and by the inhabitants of Siddhalok and Charnalok, Citraketu, the most powerful mystic yogi, wandered about enjoying life for millions of years with bodily strength and senses free from deterioration. He traveled within the valleys of Sumeru mountain, which is a place of perfection for various kinds of mystic power. In those valleys, he enjoyed life with the women of Vidyadhara Lok by chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. Prabhupada makes an interesting comment on this. He says it is to be understood that Maharaj Citraketu, although he was surrounded by beautiful women from Vidyadhara Lok, did not forget to glorify the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord, which is usually the case. If someone gets some opulence or some association with a very attractive member of the opposite sex, and generally we forget about our bhajan. But Citraketu was such a great devotee, it didn't disturb him at all. Prabhupada says, he didn't forget to glorify the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord. It has been proved in many places that one who's not contaminated by any material contamination, who is a pure devotee engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord, should be understood to be perfect. So one of the themes that we find throughout this chapter, and I'll speak more about this in our second session, there's a nice song we'll sing about this also, is that we're not the seer. Because again and again we're hearing in this section of the Bhagavatam that Indra, he's a king of the demigods, but Citraketu, Vitrasura is a greater devotee than he is. And then we're hearing about how Citraketu is surrounded by all these very beautiful women and he's going everywhere in this wonderful flying cart, but he's not disturbed by that association. So Prabhupada, he writes in his purport to text 4 and 5, let's see. He says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he arranged all of this because he wanted Citraketu to come back to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. The Lord's plan was that Citraketu would be cursed by Parvati to become Vitrasura, so that in his next life he could quickly return home back to Godhead. And Prabhupada says that there have been many instances in which a devotee acting as a demon has been brought to the kingdom of God by the mercy of the Lord. Mm-hmm. So in the next verse, Sukadeva Goswami says that Esha Loka Guru Sakshad Dharmam Vyakta Shariranam Aste Mukhya Sabayam Vai Mitani Bhuya Bharyaya. And that Lord Shiva, who's the master of the general populace and the best of all living entities except of material bodies, he enunciates the system of religion. But how wonderful it is that this is Citraketu speaking, excuse me. How wonderful it is that he's embracing his wife Parvati in the midst of an assembly of saintly persons. So Citraketu's words are very, very interesting. It seems like he's being very rude, and he's disrespecting Lord Shiva. He's disrespecting Parvati Devi, but his words have a deep purport to them. And one thing that we learned from this section, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and it says in his purport that actually all of this happened, it was a plan by the Lord because he wanted Citraketu to come to him very quickly. He was so very, very eager for that. In this connection, there's an interesting verse from the Padma Purana, which Rupa Goswami quotes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.232. He says, Yena janma sahasrani vasudeva nisevita tanmuke harinamani sadatishtanti bharata. He says that, the Padma Purana says, the names of the Lord remain constantly in the mouth of a person who serves Vasudeva for 1,000 births. Isn't that interesting? What does that say to us? That the names of the Lord remain constant in the mouth of a person who serves the Lord for 1,000 births. Now wait a minute. We thought if you chant the holy names of the Lord, one birth, you're going to go back to Godhead. What is this? So Jiva Goswami says a very interesting thing in his commentary. He says that sometimes the Lord makes a devotee take birth over and over and over again. Why? In order to make that devotee's desire, his eagerness for bhakti, increase again and again and again. So it's a similar point in a different kind of way that we find in this section, that Citraketu, the Lord arranged this so that Citraketu would come back to him quickly. In other words, for the devotees, we don't care. It's described in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, na swargam na punarbhavam. The prachetas, they pray to Lord Vishnu. Tuliyama lavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasha martyanam kimutasisa. They said, we don't care if we have liberation or if we stay here, we have to go to hell. But we simply want to have association with your devotees. The devotee is completely surrendered. All that a devotee prays for is give me association with devotees. And the Lord will take care of whatever situation is required. So we see in this section that Lord Vishnu, he made some arrangement for Citraketu to come back to him more quickly. So then in the 7th and 8th verses of this chapter, we hear about how Lord Shiva, he was sitting there with Parvati and his wife on his lap, and Prabhupada comments, he says that although Citraketu criticized Lord Shiva, he didn't offend Lord Shiva like Daksha. Daksha considered Lord Shiva to be insignificant, but Citraketu, what was he doing? He was criticizing the Lord, but his purpose wasn't to find fault with Lord Shiva. He was just astonished. This is amazing. Just see. Lord Shiva is such a great personality. He has the original Miss Universe sitting on his lap. And he's sitting with all these sages and people around him, and he's completely undisturbed. This is a really, really amazing thing. But Daksha is a very significant point because this section is about Vaishnava Aparadha. And it seems that Citraketu is making some great Vaishnava Aparadha to Lord Shiva, but here we're hearing actually he didn't. Whereas Daksha, he committed a great offense to Lord Shiva. And I think tomorrow we'll speak more comparing these two pastimes of Daksha's criticism of Lord Shiva, which is a very, very important part of the Bhagavatam. Jiva Goswami speaks about it in Bhakti Sandarbha. And compare that to this pastime of Citraketu Maharaj. So the next verse describes that ordinary conditioned souls, they generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. But it's so wonderful that Lord Mahadev, he's the great master of austerity, he's the greatest of yogis, he's embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. Again, in his purport of that verse, Prabhupada says that Citraketu was not an offender. It's an important thing for us to understand. This section of the Bhagavatam can help us understand some of the intricacies of Vaishnava Aparadha and the dangers of it, the subtlety of it. Citraketu actually wasn't an offender. Parvati thought he was a great offender. And Prabhupada says Citraketu merely expressed his wonder. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments on the ninth verse of this chapter, speaks about how the members of that assembly, there were so many great members of that assembly, and none of them became disturbed. None of them saw or considered that Citraketu had done anything wrong. So we can understand something from that. We have three things. We have Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Did you ever wonder what is the difference between Sadhu and Guru? I mean, Guru is a Sadhu, and Sadhu is also a Guru. It kind of seems like redundant. What's the necessity to say those two things? Sadhu means not just an individual person that we take shelter of, but Sadhu means the Sadhu tradition. An interesting example can be given. We follow these three things, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And sometimes the Sadhu tradition may not follow all the details of Shastra. For example, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, in the first Vilas, it says it's very important that you should find a Guru who has good teeth. Now, we don't pay so much attention to that because the Sadhu tradition doesn't stress that it's so important that your Gurudev has to brush his teeth every day and use some mouthwash or something like that. But Shastra says that. And Shastra says it for a certain reason. Another, I think it's the 14th Vilas, if I'm not mistaken, of Hari Bhakti Vilas, it describes that the glories of Tulsi Devi. And therein it says that you can make a sabji out of Tulsi manjaris and you offer that to the deity. And that's very, very dear to him. Do you do like that here? No. Have you ever heard of anyone doing like that? We don't do like that. Although Shastra says, Hari Bhakti Vilas is quoting some Puranas or something for making that point. Although Shastra says that we should do this, we don't do it because the Sadhu tradition is another thing. So in this case, we see Sadhu tradition is there, the Sadhu Samaj is there, surrounding Lord Shiva, and Prabhupada writes in his purport, if the members of the assembly thought that Citraketu had blasphemed Lord Shiva, then they would have left at once. They would have gotten up, they would have put their hands over their ears. I remember once I had a very bad day in Mayapur. That's an unusual thing. Mayapur is such a wonderful place. But I had a very, very bad day. My mind was very disturbed. And finally, at the end of the day, I went to see my Guru Maharaj. My mind was so... I said, Guru Maharaj, I'm having a very bad day. I'm so disturbed. He said, what's wrong? I said, well, I think I did some Vaishnava Aparadha. He said, what did you do? I said, well, I went to Bhagavatam class. He said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I went to the class, and the devotee in the class started criticizing one of Prabhupada's godbrothers that Prabhupada had great affection for, I know from Prabhupada's letters and that. And I felt very, very disturbed. But I thought, anyway, somebody's going to say something and rectify it. And so I sat through that. And my Guru Maharaj told me, you made a mistake. You should have quietly gotten up and just left that assembly. And that's the behavior of saintly persons. If there's some criticism of something going on, we don't throw a brick at them or start shouting at them or something, but we quietly get up and leave that assembly. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Artha Darshani commentary, he quotes a verse from the 74th chapter of the 10th canto, Bhagavan Nindanam Shutva Dusasam Tatsabha Sada Karno Pidaya Nirjagmu Sarpantas Chedi Pambrusa, which describes that when Sishupal began criticizing Krishna in the assembly, all the different members of that assembly, they covered their ears and they walked out, and all of them cursed Sishupal, the king of Chedi. So this is a proper behavior. And from the fact that nobody got up and walked out of that assembly, we can understand that actually Citraketu hadn't committed some offense. Lord Shiva wasn't disturbed by it. And the sages and rishis, they were looking to Lord Shiva. Oh, he's not bothered by this thing. They could understand that by that, the Citraketu hadn't actually committed any offense. It's an interesting thing. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there's a description of Lord Brahma when Narad Muni came to him and started glorifying him, saying, "You're the best of persons." And Lord Brahma at that time, he said, Tanmayaiva satatam. He said, I'm always in Maya. Why are you glorifying me? Tanmayaiva satatam. Why am I in Maya? He said, Jagato aham guru prabhu. Because I think that I'm the guru and the prabhu of all the universe. I'm a very, very important person. Pitamahascha krishnasya nabi padma samudbhava. Sometimes people become proud of having a good birth. Well, I have the best birth. I was born from the navel of Krishna, and I'm known as Pitamaha. I am the grandfather of the universe. Tapashvi aradhakashtashyeti. I have this abhiman, this pride that I'm a great tapashvi, a great ascetic. Adyar guru madayar hata. I think I'm a great guru. He said that in this way, nasa chinta nirekrita, my intelligence is completely lost. And I'm completely under the influence of Maya. A very interesting thing, famous story of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma became attracted by his own daughter and took a form of a stag and ran after her to try to enjoy with her. But interestingly, that same Lord Brahma, it said, Chaturmukho Jagatkarta, that person who is Jagatkarta, the control of the universe, and Chaturmukho, four-headed, Chaturveda Parayana, who knows all four Vedas, Haridasa Kalojata, appeared in Kali Yuga as Haridas Thakur, Brahmanam Tvam Namamyaham. I offer my obeisances to that Haridas Thakur, who is the incarnation of Lord Brahma. Very interesting thing. These two different pastimes of the same individual. Lord Brahma, who's the ruler of the universe, felt some sexual desire for his own daughter. But then when he came as Haridas Thakur, Maya Devi personified, came and tried to beguile him, tried to bewilder him, but she wasn't able to do it. What's the difference? It's the same person. But the difference is, Lord Brahma had a big position, and Haridas Thakur didn't. And that was the prayer of Lord Brahma to Krishna when during a Brahma Mohana Lila, when Krishna bewildered Lord Brahma, and Krishna manifested the form of all the cows, calves, and cowherd boys that Lord Brahma had kidnapped. When Lord Brahma came back and saw them manifesting Vishnu forms, he also had an attitude adjustment at that time. He realized, oh, I made a big mistake. And he started offering prayers to Krishna. And Krishna said, hey, don't worry about it. You're my devotee. Stuff happens. It's a mistake. I mean, it's a pretty big offense. Still, in many countries in the world today, if you kidnap someone, the penalty is death. And Lord Brahma didn't just kidnap anyone, but he kidnapped the cowherd boys, Krishna's dear friends, and the calves. But Krishna said, you're my devotee. Sometimes you do little stupid things. Don't worry about it. It's okay. He's very, very forgiving. I think in a similar way, it's something like the pastime of Sugriv. Sugriv made good friends with Lord Ramachandra. They made a fire sacrifice and things. And Sugriv promised, I'm going to help you to find your wife. But then the rainy season came. And they said, well, what can I do? We can't go anywhere during the rainy season. I'll go and look for after the Chaturmashi is finished, after the 4 months of the rainy season are over. And then Sugriv, he'd been made king again after Lord Ramachandra killed Bali. Now life was pretty good. And he was surrounded by a bunch of beautiful monkey women. And he had all kinds of alcohol and different things. And he was getting intoxicated like anything and enjoying with all these beautiful girls. And the 4 months of the rainy season went by. And Sugriv forgot all about his promise to Lord Ramachandra. It's a very interesting pastime. Because Sugriv is a great devotee. He's an eternal associate of the Lord. And Lord Ramachandra, meanwhile, was lamenting and crying in separation from Sita. And Lakshman, when he saw that the rainy season's over, where is this Badmas, this rascal Sugriv? What's going on with this guy? Lakshman became a little upset. You don't want to make Lakshman angry. So he went to the abode of Sugriv and he just twanged his bow string and the whole ground began to shake. And then Sugriv also had an attitude adjustment. He realized, oh, I made a big mistake. And he came out and begged apology from the Lord. So stuff happens sometimes, even to devotees. They may have some difficulties. But Krishna says, Api chet sudaracharo bhajate mamananya bhaksadureva samantavya vyag samyagbasa. He's always that he's a great personality. Sadhureva samantavya. You should understand he's a sadhu. But what kind of sadhu? He's a durachari sadhu. He's a sadhu. His behavior is not very good. We wouldn't want to go and hear a Bhagavatam class from Sugriv while he's drunk with all of his girls around him and whatever. But we give respect to him. And how is he a sadhu? Because he's doing Ananyata Bhajan. What does that mean? Ananyata Bhajan, we would generally think, means that I have no material desires. And I'm simply completely focused on Krishna. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Sarita Varshini commentary, he says there that Ananyata Bhajan means he's not taking shelter of the devatas. He's not taking shelter of karma or gyan or yoga. He's simply taking shelter of the Lord. But he has some bad habits. So sometimes things happen like that. So Haridas Thakur, he was Lord Brahma. But he didn't have that kind of desires, didn't have that problem that Lord Brahma had because he didn't take such a position. Raghunath Das Goswami describes in Manasiksha that this is a great obstacle for us in our bhajan, this pratista. Pratista sajista swapacha ramani me hridina tet. Katam sadhu prema spesiti sucha etan nanumana sadatvam sevasva prabhudaita samantamatulam yatatam niskasya tvarita mihatam veshayati saha. He says as long as this pratista asa means a hope, some desire, that how long will it go before they finally recognize how important I am? And they'll put me in charge of things. And they'll see what good qualities that I have. He says that this pratistasa, drista is a word that Raghunath Das Goswami likes, I think, very much. He also uses it in his Govardhan Basa Prarthana Dasakam, as we may speak a little bit later in the same chapter. Drista means very impudent or shameless. My asa, this desire I have, is very shameless, very impudent. I have no qualification. Who am I? But I want this respect from other people. He says it's just like a swapacha ramani. Ramani means a wife of a swapacha, of a dog eater. And this swapacha ramani, she's not just a passive lady, a quiet lady with her head covered sitting in the back or something. But swapacha ramani me hridina tet. She's dancing like anything in my heart. She's not covering her body in very much clothes, and she's just dancing like anything. This is the nature of my desire. He said it's very drista, it's very impudent, It's such a nonsense thing. Katam sadhu prema sprisati sucha etan nanumana. He says, my dear mind, katam sadhu prema. Why? Katam means why? Why are you doing this thing? If you want to have this sadhu prema, this wonderful prema that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing. Spritisi sucha etan nanumana. This prema won't even touch you. It won't go close to you if you have this kind of desire. Sadatvam sevasva. So what is the solution to that? Raghunath Das Goswami gives a very wonderful solution. Sada, always. Sadatvam sevasva. You should always do service. And to who? He gives some particular. Sadatvam sevasva. Prabhudaita samantam atulam. That person who's samantam atulam, who's a great incomparable. Atulam means incomparable. And samantam means a general. Who's a Prabhudaita amongst all the Prabhus who are very dear. Prabhudaita, Daita means who are dear, who are very dear to Krishna. Prabhudaita samantam atulam. That person who's a great general. I should always constantly, sadatam sevasva, constantly do service to that person. Because what will happen if you do that? The nature of the sadhu, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, the very meaning of the word sadhu is someone who cuts. And he says, if you come close to the sadhu, what will happen? You'll naturally reveal your heart to him. And you'll say, Maharaj, I just want to tell you, I haven't told this even to my wife, or to my mother or anybody else, but you know, I have this problem. I have this terrible desire, this very bad thing that I'm doing. And then when you offer that thing to the sadhu, what does he do? He takes and he puts your heart on a chopping block. And then he raises a knife. That's his reciprocation for you revealing your heart. And he cuts. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says he cuts with the sharp edge of his words. And he speaks in a way, that you realize what a nonsense rascal I am. And this is our solution for this pratishta. You need to get around someone who says, what do you want? You're such an idiot. How can you pray for such a thing like that? So if we want this love that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving, then we have to pray like this. And we have to be very, very careful not to be impudent, to avoid this drista. And we see that Parvati, she accuses this of Citraketu, that this Citraketu, now all of a sudden he thinks he's become such a big person, that he's bigger than Lord Shiva, and that he can judge Lord Shiva. And Parvati, she says a few things about this. Let's see. Prabhupada writes in his purport, he says that Citraketu should not have criticized the Lord. Even though the Lord Shiva was transgressing social customs, it said, Tajiya samna doshaya, that one who's very powerful should be understood to be faultless. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes in one purport, he says that a superior should not be offered even a verbal fight. We don't disregard them even verbally. If there's something wrong being done by some senior person, we have to follow proper etiquette. We don't go and challenge that person. As we see here in this case, we learn some lesson from this pastime of Citraketu, that from one angle of vision, Citraketu, he thought, Prabhupada describes in his purport, that Lord Shiva was doing something wrong. And Citraketu wanted to correct him. This is the offense known as Maryada Vyatikram, or trying to correct a superior person. Prabhupada says, one who is very powerful should be understood to be faultless. For example, one should not find faults with the sun, although it evaporates urine from the street. Just like our parents. Your parents may not be vegetarian. Your parents may not be devotees, but they're your parents. They gave you birth. How can you appreciate bhakti if you don't appreciate this human body that you've gotten? And that human body was given to you by your parents. So we should show some respect to them. And maybe they have some problems in their life. Maybe we don't even want to take something they've cooked because they're not vegetarian. But still, we give respect to them. We should. And we don't find fault with them. They gave us this body. Prabhupada says, the most powerful cannot be criticized by an ordinary man or even by a great personality. Citraketu should have known that Lord Shiva, although sitting in that way, was not to be criticized. The difficulty was that Citraketu, because he became a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, he became somewhat proud, Prabhupada said. That now I'm a devotee. And therefore he thought that he can now criticize anyone, even Lord Shiva. And Prabhupada says, this kind of pride in a devotee is never tolerated. A Vaishnava should always remain very humble and meek and offer respect to others. Chanada pisa nichena, torora pisa hisnana amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse. He says that, on the other hand, one should not think that Parvati became angry because she didn't know the intentions of Lord Shiva in the assembly, because we're mentioning Lord Shiva didn't become offended. The rishis and sadhus in that assembly, they didn't become offended. So then why should Parvati become offended? And Vishwanath says that Parvati was thinking, this fellow, he's criticizing Lord Shiva over and over again, because Citraketu in this chapter, he said several things about Lord Shiva. It would be enough, maybe if he did it one time, I could overlook that. But he's saying something again and again and again. So the 11th verse of this chapter describes Sasta Danda Dara Prabhu. That Parvati's asking, who does this fellow think he is now? Huh? This fellow, he's an upstart. He's got some position that now he can punish shameless persons like us. Has he been appointed the ruler, the carrier, the rod of punishment? Is he now the only master of everything? Let's see. Then in text 14 is an interesting word that she speaks for some time, speaking about how Citraketu has become so very, very proud. And in text 14, she uses the word stubda. Stubda means impudent. This fellow has become so proud of his position. As we mentioned, Raghunath Das Goswami, in the first verse of his Govardhan Aparadha Dasakam, we wrote something about this in our new magazine about Govardhan Lila. Very interesting thing. You see on the cover of this magazine, maybe I can pass this around, is that legal? You see on this cover, there's all devotees there, surrounded by Krishna, surrounding Krishna. But in this magazine cover, there's two particular devotees who are very striking. One is up in the air on top of an elephant, and the other one, well, sometimes they think he's just a pile of rocks. That's Govardhan Hill. Two great devotees. Indra said, Indrari vyakalam lokam hridayanti yuge yuge. We know this verse, Eti chamsa kala pumsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam. Jiva Goswami says it's the most important verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That Krishna is the source of all incarnations. But it says, why do those incarnations come? Indari vyakalam lokam hridayanti yuge yuge. They come again and again to protect Indra. Indra's not just some slouch. He's not just some small-time person. He's a very, very great personality. Krishna comes again and again to protect Indra. And so we see on the cover of the magazine there, Indra is riding on an elephant. I have this big position. And in the beginning of his Govardhan Aparadha Dasakam, 10 prayers praying for residents near Giriraj, Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. Raghunath Das Goswami is repeatedly praying, please give me residence near you, Giriraj. The first thing he says, Nija Pati Bhuja Dandach Chatambhavam Prapadya. First two words he uses indicates immediately that he sees Giriraj as a devotee. Nija Pati. Nija means your, Pati means your master. That, my dear Giriraj, your pati, your master Krishna, he held you up. And then in the next line, he says that pratihata. Pratihata means to destroy. Pratihata mada drishtodenda devinda garba. It's a very intrinsic part of Govardhan Lila, is the fact that Giriraj defeated the pride of Indra. In the very first verse of Raghunath Das Goswami's prayers, he evokes this. And from this fact, we can understand something, that if we want to approach Giriraj, Nija Nikata Nibasam Dehi Govardhanatvam, and we want to have residence near him, or there's another meaning, we translated some commentary ascribed to Baladi Vidyabhushan on those prayers, Atva. What is, when we say Vaishnav Atva, what does Vaishnav Atva mean? Can someone say? We know what the word Vaishnav means, a devotee. When you say Vaishnav Atva, what does it mean? Means? It means a quality. The quality of being a devotee. So, Nija Nikata Nibasam Dehi Govardhanatvam has two meanings, depending on the Sandhi where you divide it. One meaning is that please let me live near you. Another meaning is that please let me have qualities like you. Because he sees Giriraj as the greatest of devotees. And he says, I think it's in the 4th verse, Shiradika Vakta Chandra, that from the lotus, a moon-like mouth of Srimati Radharani, came this verse, Hantai Yamadara Bala Haridasa Varyo, that Giriraj is the greatest of all the devotees of Krishna. So, on this cover of the magazine, we see two particular devotees illustrated. One is Govardhan Hill, as a devotee, and the other is Indra. But Indra became so proud. And Krishna can't tolerate it when a devotee becomes proud, because that pride will spoil all your bhakti. So Prabhupada's describing in this section, his purports, that this was Citraketu's problem. He had darshan of the Lord. But even after having darshan of the Lord, he thought, oh, now I'm a very important person. Don't you know who I am? I personally had darshan of Lord Vishnu, and he gave me this car that I'm driving, gave me this airplane going around. That's pretty good. I'm a very important person. He was thinking like that. And because of that pride, it led to Vaishnava Aparadha. Prabhupada writes in one purport in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, he says that too much opulence is the cause of Vaishnava Aparadha. We should be very, very careful. For devotees who joined in the late 70s or whatever, have been in ISKCON for a long time, more than, say, 30 years, you know, today things are quite a bit different from what they were previously. Now there's so much opulence and so much nice things, and all the devotees have soft beds, except for Radhanath Maharaj. He sleeps on a wooden bed. But everybody has some comfort. There's so much opulence around us today. But it wasn't like that. Years ago, the devotees, it was an austere thing. If you wanted to join the Hare Krishna movement, it was a difficult thing. So we should be careful. Now we have so much opulence that opulence can lead to pride. And we start thinking, now I'm a big person. I belong to ISKCON. ISKCON's such a very opulent group. And these other, sometimes we may criticize other Vaishnavas. There's some other Vaishnavas, but they don't have the opulence that we have. They're not great like us. That's very, very bad. Natad bhakteshu chanyeshu se bhakti prakritasmita. Vaisheshika was quoting this verse a few days ago. This is a prakrita bhakta. Natad bhakteshu chanyeshu. He doesn't give respect to other devotees. And what to speak of other devotees, chanyeshu, other persons. He doesn't give proper respect to them. A Vaishnava gives respect to everyone. The deho nata jata jata. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he gives respect according to their particular position. He does not that he gives the same respect to Gurudev or to a senior Vaishnava that he'll give to an ant on the street or something. He gives respect to everyone, but according to their particular position. So this Govardhan Lila is a very illustrated pastime of this, because the king of the demigods, who is in charge of Dharma, he's like the ultimate religious person in the world, he's defeated by, excuse me for putting it this way, but by a pile of rocks. It's very humbling for him. And this is a very important lesson, because you could Googled this thing. I Googled, what was it, a while back. I found that there are many, many Christians who also speak about this principle of, what do we often speak about, Kund? About entitlement. Thank you. This is a natural result of pride. Then we start thinking that I'm entitled. And this was Indra's fault. He thought, I'm the big cheese. I'm in charge of everything. And what the heck are these guys doing? They're not making any offerings to me. Krishna told the Brijbasis, we should worship Indra. And he gave some arguments, and finally Nanda Maharaj and the Brijbasis agreed. They said, but how should we do that? And Krishna told them, well, you should offer huge piles of food to Giriraj. We should do some sacrifice, fire yagya. We should do kirtan, glorify Giriraj. And we should worship the Brahmins and the cows. And we should feed everyone. And Krishna told him, Jiva Goswami says this in Gopal Champu, he said, you should feed, after the ceremony's finished, you should feed all the Brahmins, you should feed all the cowherd people, you should feed all the cows, you should feed all the dogs, you feed everyone in Braj, but don't give anything to Indra. Feed the dogs, but don't feed Indra. It's a little insulting, you know. So this Govardhana Lila was meant partly to crush the pride of Giriraj, of Indra. And Raghunath Das Goswami informs us of this in the very first verse, and therefore indirectly telling us that a great lesson, if you want to have this Govardhanatvam, you want these qualities like Giriraj, of being a devotee. And what is Giriraj's qualities like? Giriraj is a team member. He's the best of all the team members. And Indra, he just wants to be the star of the team. He's like that guy, if you're playing basketball or something, he just wants to hog the ball all the time and be the star of the show. Whereas Giriraj, he's not a big person. He's a pile of rocks. He's a big person in one sense, but his service is not so noticeable. What does Giriraj do? What is the main thing that he does? He grows grass. Growing grass is a pretty humble thing. He grows grass, the cows eat the grass, and the cows give milk, and the cows get the credit for giving the milk. But the grass came from Giriraj. He supports that. The cowherd boys, they take the minerals from Giriraj, and they make paints out of them, and they paint Krishna's face. The cowherd boys get the credit, not Giriraj. There's so many fruit trees and things in Giriraj Govardhan. The cowherd boys and the gopis, they pick those fruits, and they give them to Krishna. Who gets the credit for that? The cowherd boys and the gopis. In this way, Giriraj, he serves all the different rasas in Braj, and he never takes any credit. He's such a wonderful team member that he just wants to help to serve and support everyone else's service. And he doesn't care if he gets any credit at all for himself. This is Govardhanatvam. This is the quality of a devotee that Giriraj Govardhan has. So Indra has this problem with this pride, and therefore we see these two different positions on the cover of the magazine. Indra riding on the elephant up above, and Giriraj Govardhan just quietly being held up by Krishna's hand. And so in the second line of the first verse, Raghunath Das Goswami uses the word pratihata. Pratihata mada dristodenda devendra garba. And interesting, he says devendra garba, that Indra has this garba, this pride. And he uses that word garba. Garba means pride. And then he uses three other words, each of which also mean pride. You may say, oh, Raghunath Das Goswami is not a very good poet. He ran out of words, and so he's just being redundant. But no, every word, pratishloki, pratyakshri, nanatakoi, every word has so much meaning. So he describes actually in this verse three qualities of pride, of Indra's pride. Those are mada, drista, and udanda. Just like this word in the 14th chapter of this chapter, 14th verse of this chapter, stabda, which Prabhupada translates as impudent. Parvati says this rascal, Citraketu, he's stabda, he's impudent, he has such pride. Stabda means pride. Drista also means impudent. It's another synonym for that. It also means pride. But in particular, pride that I'm a big person. And the first word that he uses, Raghunath Das Goswami, to describe the pride of Indra is Madha. Madha means pride, but Madha also means intoxication. And Madha also means lust, because that's what comes when you have a big position. Lord Brahma had a big position, and he became lusty after his own daughter. But Haridas Thakur had no position, and there's no lust there. There's no intoxication. Madha means intoxication. We don't become intoxicated. I'm a big person. I'm going to ISV and they're giving me a garland and asking me to give class. Just see what a great person that I am. And we forget about things. We forget about who we are. We forget about the fallen position that we came from. We become intoxicated. Madha. And then Drista, we start acting in a very impudent way. And we challenge senior persons. So Prabhupada is saying, this is what Citraketu is doing. He's gotten some position. He got to see Lord Vishnu. Vishnu gave him a car to drive in. And because of that, he's become so proud now, so impudent, that he dares to criticize Lord Shiva. And Udanda. Danda means a stick. Udanda means to hold up a stick. It means to hold a stick up in the air. It also means to push yourself forward and try to make yourself prominent. This is one of the natures of pride. Whereas a Vaishnava like Giriraj doesn't push himself forward. He's so quiet, the only thing he pushes is grass. He pushes the grass up, and Krishna picks him up. Krishna holds him up. And this is the nature of bhakti. We don't have to try to push ourselves forward. We just serve. And if Krishna wants you to be pushed forward, Krishna will push. Krishna will send someone to ask you to give class, ask you to be in charge of things. I know Vaisheshika Prabhu, he never wanted to be a big person. And he was a little famous. I've known Prabhu since 1983. He's a little well-known amongst devotees as kind of an anti-establishment kind of person. For a long time. But now he's become like the establishment. Now they're coming to him saying, you should be the GBC in New York, you should do this and this. And out of humility, he's accepting that to serve Srila Prabhupada, but not because he wanted it. And I've never seen, he never pushed himself forward for that. But just by his good qualities, so many people appreciated him. And Krishna pushed him in that position. Srila Prabhupada pushed him in that position. This is the nature of Vaishnavas. There's an interesting story in this regard also. In the Mahabharata, it said that in South India, there was one wealthy Vaishya who had several children. And those children, they started feeding opulent foodstuffs to a crow. And they were giving him, rasgullas and ice cream and different things like that. And what happens if you eat a lot of rich foods, you become fat. Right? So that crow became a little fat. And he also became a little proud. And he thought, I'm Pucky Raj. I'm the best of all the birds. There's no bird like me. Because there's nobody as fat as I am. He became a little proud like that. And then one day, there were two Rajahangsa swans who started flying overhead. And Rajahangsa swan, their wingspread is about as wide as my arms. They're huge birds and so beautiful, white, very, very sattvic. And when all the other birds saw those Rajahangsa swans, they began to worship them. Oh, these are very, very special. And that pucky, that kaka, we say in a Oriya language, because that's the sound they make, right? He became envious. And so he became impudent, drishta. And he challenged those swans. He said, who do you think you are? This is my territory. I'm the temple president here. I'm the Pucky Raj. I'm the best of all the birds. Everyone's giving so much respect to you. I challenge you to a competition of flight. And we'll see who's really the best bird. And I'll show my stupendous ability. And the two Rajahangsa swans kind of looked at each other. Who is this guy? This guy's really an idiot, you know. And that crow, then he began to fly in so many different ways. He's flying upside down and doing spins and like this and that. And all the other crows started cheering, "Caw, caw, caw, caw. That's our man, go, go." They were really, really delighted with him, right? And the Rajahangsa swans just looked at him and said, "These guys are crazy. Let's get out of here." So they started flying away. Get away from those crazy birds. They started flying out over the ocean. And that stupid crow started flying after them. "Ha! You can't escape me. I am the superior bird around here." And he's flying after them. And the swans are flying and flying. And they started flying like many miles out over the sea. And after some time, the crow I've never been out this far before. And he couldn't see the land anymore. And then he started getting tired because his wings are just little, right? And he started flying lower and lower and lower. And then he started hitting the water. And then he started becoming really afraid because he knows there's all kinds of sharks and different animals in the ocean that are going to eat him up. And so then at that time, he got a little good intelligence. And he started calling out to those Rajahangsa swans, "Please, please help me. Please forgive. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Please save me. Save me." And so those two birds, they turned around, swans, and they came down, and one of them scooped up that poor crow who was all completely soaking wet and disheveled like anything, and put him on his back and carried him back to the shore and put him down. So there's a great purport in this story that we should be careful not to try to imitate the saintly persons, the swan-like persons, or those paramahamsas, or in this case, the Rajahamsas. And we forget, if we start imitating, we get a little fat. We get fed some nice prasadam. They start giving me the Raj Bhoga offering because I'm giving class. Yes. We become a little fat and we start thinking, yes, now I'm a very important person. And then we start imitating great personalities. And if we see them, those great personalities, we become envious. And we think, why is everybody giving respect to him? They should give respect to me. And then if we behave like that, we'll drown in the ocean of birth and death. We won't be able to cross over that ocean. But if we find ourselves in that situation, then we should call out to Krishna, "Please help me, help me. I'm drowning, I'm dying in this ocean of material existence." We should give up this attitude of stabda, or being proud. Prabhupada writes in his purport to this verse, 14th verse of the 17th chapter, "If a devotee thinks that he's very much advanced in devotional service, he's considered puffed up and unfit to sit beneath the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet." And then he says again, this instruction by Lord Chaitanya is applicable. And again, second time in this chapter, Prabhupada quotes the same verse. "Chanadapi sunitchena tadoreva sahishnena amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari." That we should not think ourselves great personalities. So in the next verse, Prabhupada writes in his purport, what does it mean to surrender to Krishna? Prabhupada says that surrender to Krishna means to surrender to his devotees also. You can't separate Krishna from his devotees. He says no one can be a proper servant of Krishna unless he's a proper servant of a devotee. And then he quotes a line by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is text 15, purport. After Daiviyesha Gunamayi, Prabhupada quotes in the purport. Keep going down. Keep going down. You'll see Daiviyesha Gunamayi. There's Daiviyesha Gunamayi. Keep going down. Okay, right after that. It's the later part of this paragraph. In the middle of the paragraph, Prabhupada says, to surrender to Krishna means to surrender to his devotee also, for no one can be a proper servant of Krishna unless he's a proper servant of a devotee. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payechi Keba. Without serving a servant of Krishna, one cannot be elevated to being a servant of Krishna himself. It's not possible. In the Mahabharata, Krishna, he says, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti, yastananu samamanu. He said, if someone hates my devotee, it means they hate me. And if someone loves my devotee, it means they love me. So important are the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's instructed many, many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat and other places that we should give up criticizing the devotees. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, he describes, we can sing this, it'd be nice if there's a mridanga player, and we can chant Hare Krishna in response. Jayamara dasira sakrit ninda kori mora nama kopataru sanghare tahare bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. He says, Jayamara dasira sakrit ninda kori. Jayamara dasira, anyone who sakrit ninda kori, Ninda, who does ninda, who criticizes Amara Das, my devotee, then Moranama Kopataru Sanghare Tahare. Don't be proud thinking you're a devotee. Once I heard someone in a class say that, someone asked, well, if we do some Vaishnava Aparadha, what will happen to us? And the answer someone gave, thank you, is that don't worry about it because we're doing Tulsi Puja, we're chanting the holy name. It doesn't affect us in the same way. Sadhu Sabadan. My dear sadhus, please be careful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest authority, he says, Moranama Kopataru Sanghare Tahari. My name, Moranama Kopataru, which is like a wish-fulfilling tree, Sanghare Tahari. It'll destroy that person. You're chanting the holy name. You're thinking, I've got everything, I'm doing really good, it's no problem. So I criticize somebody. Who cares? I'm chanting the Hare Krishna. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that same name that you're chanting, they will destroy you. Moranama Kopataru Sanghare Tahari. How do we understand that? That name is Abhinatva Nama Namino. It's not different from Krishna. Krishna kills the demons. Right? What happens when Krishna kills the demons? They get liberation. What kind of liberation do they get? They get Sayuja Mukti. They merge with Krishna. So in a similar way, if we offend devotees, Krishna, he won't tolerate that if you act like a demon, then he'll destroy us. He may destroy our bhakti. And so that we become impersonalists. Or you may even get impersonal liberation if you're offending the devotees. Now you may say, as I know one person once, I heard him speaking, one kind of I'd say an acquaintance of mine, not exactly a friend, but he once said, this Vaishnava Aparadha is overrated. He said, actually, it's very difficult to do Vaishnava Aparadha because, first of all, you have to find someone who's really a Vaishnava. And they're all bogus. They're not Vaishnavas. Once, I tell this story quite often, I don't know if you've heard me say this, but once in Los Angeles, I met one very senior devotee, very, very senior devotee, Prabhupada disciple, and much to my misfortune, he started criticizing all the gurus in ISKCON. And he's saying, yeah, all these guys, they're all bogus. He said, none of the sannyasis chant 16 rounds. He said, I know. I was a sannyasi before, and I never chanted 16 rounds. And I'm a little drista, I'm a little impudent. Please excuse me. I spoke up in a way that I shouldn't have done to such a senior person, but I couldn't help myself because it hurt to hear him speak like that. And I said, please forgive me, but I know at least one person in our society who's actually qualified. He said, yeah, who? And I said, you. He literally took 2 steps back. He thought I was going to do some judo or something on him. I don't know. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're on such an elevated platform that you can see who's a Vaishnava and who's not a Vaishnava, then at least you're qualified. So we know we have some hope that at least one person's qualified in our society. So anyway, this other person was telling us that it's very hard to do Vaishnava Aparadha because first of all you have to find someone who's really a Vaishnava. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he speaks this verse I just read, that Moranama Kolpataru Sangharitahari, I'll destroy someone by my holy name. My holy name will destroy them, who criticizes the Vaishnava. And he says, Jai Amara Das here, Jai Amara Das, my servant. So who is that servant? As they say in the game shows, that's the $64,000 question. Who is really that servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? In the next verse, he describes, in very simple Bengali, I think you can probably understand what's happening. Do you know what's wrong with this thing? It's playing by itself. It's right there, I see it. I got it. Sorry. I fixed it. Sorry. Ananda Brahmande Jata Sabamora Das Eti KJ Pada Hinse Se Jayanas Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. Very simple Bengali, right? What does the word Ananta mean? Unlimited. Okay. And what does the word Brahmanda mean? Universe. Okay, in Bengali grammar, Brahmande, we have the A sound and E at the end, means that in all the universes. Okay, Ananta Brahmande Jata. Sabha, what does Sabha mean? Sarva, in Sanskrit, it means all. Ananta Brahmande Jata Sabha Mora Das. He said, everyone in all the unlimited universes is my servant. And ATK Pada Hingse Se Nas. Anyone who criticizes another person, that personality is going to be destroyed. Now you may say, but doesn't apply to me. I am a great devotee. I'm distributing so many books. I'm doing so many services. In the next verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I know what you're thinking. Sanyasi jadi anindaka ninda kore. Adapate Jaya Sarva Dharma Guche Tade Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. Do you know what the word jadi means in Bengali? If, yeah, or maybe. Yeah. So, jadi, sannyasi jadi, you might be a sannyasi. Such a great personality, you've given up everything in this world. But if you criticize some innocent person, adapate jaya sarva dharma guchitari, you're going to lose all of your piety. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives us two instructions. Very nice thing. We often comment on this, that Krishna's given 64 different angas of bhakti. We read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 64 different angas of bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu perhaps thought, maybe that's a little hard. So we'll have I don't know, what is it, about a 80% off sale. 5, right? Panchanga Bhakti. What's Panchanga Bhakti? Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Nam, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Bhas, Shrimurti Seva. So chanting the holy names, doing Sadhu Sangha, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, living in the Dham, and worshipping the deity. And then perhaps Mahaprabhu thought, okay, if that's also too complicated, that's too difficult for you, then we'll give you, I don't know, it's about an 85 or 90% off sale from that. Just 2 things. Just do 2 things, okay? What is that? It's about a 70% off, I guess, right? Not 90. Anyway, he says, Anindaka hoye je sakrit Krishna bole Sacha muni tare urari bo hale bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. He said you just do 2 things. One, Sakrit Krishna Boli, chant Krishna's name. You are probably already guessed that one, right? And the second thing is one thing you do and is one thing you don't do. Anandika hoy, don't criticize anyone. Don't do it. It's not your business. Why do we criticize someone? We criticize someone because we think I'm an important person. We think I have a right to do that. I'm the temple president. I'm a senior person. Because when someone has a position, they have an obligation to criticize. If you're a parent and your children go in and they start eating bogus sweets out of the kitchen that belong to the deity, you have an obligation to chastise them and tell them, don't do that, you're a nonsense rascal. Don't do that, okay? You have an obligation for that. That comes with your position. But if we think I'm just going to walk around and start chastising everybody like I'm their mother or father, it doesn't work like that. That means I want to take the position of guru. I want to be guru. Because Gurudev is a person who chastises others. Once someone asked my Guru Maharaj, what do you do then if you see that someone is doing something wrong? My Guru Maharaj said, you come and you put your arm around them and you tell them, my dear friend, he said, if you have a relationship with them, if they have some faith in you, I saw you doing this thing and I don't understand why you're doing this. This is not good. You speak to them in a very, very sweet way. You don't go to them and demand respect that I'm going to inform you and tell you what to do. We should be very, very careful. So we shouldn't criticize anyone. And Mahaprabhu says twice, he says, Satya, Satya. Satya means the truth. Satya also means I vow. Satya, Satya munitari udari bohele. He said, I'm telling you this, I vow this, I promise this. This is the truth. That if you just do these two things, very simple thing, never mind 64 angas of bhakti, never mind Navavidi bhakti, 9 types of bhakti, even Panchanga bhakti, if that's too hard, you can't live in the Dham, maybe you can't even reach Srimad Bhagavatam, but just do these two things. Chant Hare Krishna and don't criticize anyone. And if you do that, then everything will be okay. So this is a really important lesson from this pastime of Citraketu. Citraketu was such a great personality. He had darshan of Lord Vishnu. He got his mantra, and 1 week later, by chanting that mantra, he had darshan of the Lord. And the Lord personally gave him that vehicle he was going around in, and he had the most beautiful girls with him in the universe, all these Vidyadhari girls. And he's going around doing Harinam. And he thought, yeah, what's this Lord Shiva? This guy, he's not doing proper, he's not behaving properly, I know. And he started daring to criticize Lord Shiva. So this is drista, this is impudence that Citraketu had. And this is the same kind of impudence that we see in the case of Indra. And it's the same kind of destructive quality that can come to us in our devotion. We have to be very, very careful to avoid this. Now I'm a senior devotee. I'm the Sankirtan leader. You should give respect to me. I'm the toilet cleaner. In charge of all the toilets. We have 3 of them here. I'm a very important person. You should give me some respect. Because everybody wants some respect. But if we give that respect instead to Gurudev, we don't want something for our bhakti. We don't want something for our services. And any respect that does come, it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. My Guru Maharaj told me, you give class. My Guru Maharaj told me what to say. My Guru Maharaj also gives me the inspiration what to say. So that if someone comes and says, wow, that was really good, so I think, yeah, that's right. No, I'm doing this on his order. He supplied the ingredients of this yajna that we're doing. And he also gives us the inspiration to do it too. If we don't give proper respect to him, to Gurudev, then punarmoshika bhav. And again, we'll fall down, we'll become a mouse, we'll become a very, very small person. Rather than that, we should always remember where we came from. And what a bad background I come from. What a fallen person I am. That's an exalted person. If from my Guru Maharaj, he used to say sometimes that your only qualification is your disqualification. And we should remember that. So we'll stop here. We have 5 minutes. Does anybody have any reflections they can share about these topics today? Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhu, for such a nectarian class so far. And we are waiting for more to come in next sessions. So, Prabhu, I have one question, right? In some devotees, senior Vaishnavas, when they give this pastime, the class about this pastime, they quote that actually Citraketu did not offend Lord Shiva. He actually glorified that, a person can be such detached that he can actually keep his wife in his lap and also give such discourse that all saints sitting there can listen to him. So it was on part of Mother Parvati that she couldn't understand his mood properly, and then she mistakenly cursed him. So what you have spoken is like, she was like important. So I couldn't understand these two parts.
There are many different levels to this pastime, and it's very instructive that Srila Prabhupada gives completely, sometimes practically opposite discussions. We read this purport where Prabhupada says in one place, he says that Citraketu actually didn't offend Lord Shiva. Then a few purports later, Prabhupada said because Citraketu was proud, he committed this offense to Lord Shiva. So how do we understand that? I would suggest that we should see that there are different perspectives that we can see from this pastime. And just like if you go to a forest, initially you just see some big massive trees. When you come closer, you start seeing individual trees. So when we initially approach this pastime, the first thing that we may see is that, Citraketu became proud. And because of that pride, he committed some offense to Lord Shiva, became impudent. But as we come a little closer, then we see, actually, he didn't commit any offense. And the proof is that the other members of the assembly who were there, they didn't become offended. They didn't get up and leave, otherwise they would have left. So this is very important. Prabhupada doesn't comment. He doesn't say, I said this in one place and I said this and something different in another place. It's for us to reconcile these two things. And it's very, very interesting that Prabhupada says seemingly two opposite things. Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he says that sometimes our acharyas say things which are seemingly contradictory to each other. We shouldn't take one side and champion it. The jivas fall from the spiritual world, or the jivas don't fall from the spiritual. Prabhupada said both things. Better not to champion one thing, but to try to reconcile. How is it that we can reconcile both those things? And I don't want to go into that topic, so I'll use it as an example. Okay? Anything else to say, Mataji? Give her the mic.
Haribol Prabhu, so how you said that one should be humble and not expect respect for us, but especially in this place where we live, 90% of the time we spend outside where we are taught the exactly opposite, that I have to be assertive and prove myself and gain respect amongst your peers so you can grow up and earn more money and sustain yourself. But the exact opposite in Krishna consciousness, we are told. But sometimes then it feels like when I go to temple, am I putting a devotee dress or something like that? So it doesn't feel natural. So what do you think, how we should be?
Nice comment. We sent Vaisheshika a list of topics. He said, if you want, I can speak on any of these topics. And he asked me to speak about Citraketu today and tomorrow. And then for the Sunday feast tomorrow, he asked me to speak on a subject we've titled The Ecstasy of Insignificance, which is exactly about this topic. It's artificial on our behalf. As I sometimes comment, I know one senior devotee who's no longer practicing bhakti, he had a kind of a cute comment he would make to devotees. He'd say, Prabhuji, please accept my offenses and forgive me for my obeisances. I don't know if that's why he's no longer practicing Hare Krishna, but it's not a very good attitude to have. But it's cute, but there's a kind of a point to it that sometimes we're being artificial. And maybe he's indirectly indicating that I'm just putting on this show. And I might as well flip them around. It has about as much meaning. It's just like a mantra that we say. I'm not really speaking it with feeling. So humility comes from bhakti. Sanatana Goswami speaks about this. And it says that bhakti also helps, humility also helps bhakti. Although bhakti is not caused by humility. We see a lot of very humble people on the street who are beggars, who don't have anything, but they're not getting bhakti. It's not just if we're humble, we're going to get bhakti. But that humility helps. So how do we get that humility? I remember when I was a young boy, we lived in a farm place near Greenville, Illinois, southern Illinois. And our nearest neighbor was about a 30-minute bicycle ride away. I used to go and visit them sometimes. And our house, we didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity when we first moved in. It was a very nice house, actually, very nice place. And to get water, we had a pump well, a tea well. And that well, you could pump it 24 hours and you wouldn't get one drop of water out. So what you had to do, there's a system we learned, we call it in English priming the well. You pour some water into it, because there's a little cup in there, and when you pour the water in, and that little cup catches the water, and then it goes down, and it fills up with water. So our humility is like that also. If we pour some water of humility in our bhakti, then it goes down, the cup goes down, and we can actually develop real humility. Because where does that real humility come from? We were just speaking about this pratishta sadrishta, and Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, Sada tvam sevasva prabhudaita samantam atulam. That Sada tvam seva, so we should always do service. So that, to a great personality, because it's that great personality who's going to help us to curb that pride. So how do I get their mercy? Well, just by being respectful. And this is Indian culture. To this day, sometimes when I'm in the villages in West Bengal or Orissa, I see, it really warms my heart when I see the children go to their parent or their grandparent and they touch their feet. And now the kid may be thinking, yeah, this guy, he may not have real feelings like that, but that's the etiquette. He goes and he touches the feet. And what happens then? That older person feels, oh, he's so nice. He pats him on the head. They get some ashirvad. They get some blessing. So in a similar way, our humility may just be feigned. It may just be external. It may just be calculated, something that we do as a matter of etiquette. I want to lead the kirtan. I'm the best kirtan leader. Nobody else can lead kirtan like me. But I'm supposed to be humble. So I'll ask some other senior devotee if they'd like to do it. And by asking that senior devotee if they'd like to lead kirtan, even though I'm much better than they are, then they'll be happy with me. They'll pat me on the head. They'll say, oh, you did such a good thing. We go out and distribute books, not because I'm full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls, Prabhu, and I'm an ocean of mercy for them, but because I want to please Gurudev, because I want to please a great Vaishnava, and that's humility. To go out when people are, I remember I was distributing a book once in the DMV in Malibu. Was it Malibu? Somewhere in Southern California. And I was showing someone a Bhagavad Gita and talking to them, we're having a nice discussion. And all of a sudden, just out of the corner of my eye, I could see a fist coming. Some guy was watching me, and I'd never even talked to him. I don't even know if he knew exactly what I was doing or not, but he didn't like what I was doing. And he came up from behind me and just punched, I knocked me down on the ground. So sometimes that happens. What can we do? We have to just accept that. It's a humbling position to go out and offer someone a book or something. People become angry sometimes. So I'm not really humble. I felt like punching the guy in the face. But I didn't, because I had a little training. I was told, no, you should just tolerate and just go. And so I just jumped up to my feet and then just turned around and gave a book to the first person that I saw without stopping, because I thought this is the way I should behave. I was a little fanatical. But that training is there. And that training to be humble, that etiquette to be humble, where we have the children should respect the parents, where we should respect elders and things, it may be a little artificial on our part. That's okay. It's not okay, but it may be there. But if it's there still, we'll get some ashirvad, we'll get some blessing from that great personality, and then real humility will come. And therefore Chanakya Pandit, I don't remember the Sanskrit, but he says that service to senior persons is a root of humility. Anything else from anybody? Prabhuji? There's two in the back. Okay. Just very quickly, we're a little late. I wanted to finish by 10 sharp. It's not working. Is there another mic?
Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class. It's very enlightening. One question is, like when we are dealing with parents, like where is the line of giving advice versus criticizing if they are non-devotees, or
if we're dealing with our parents?
Dealing with parents or elder brothers, they are not into Krishna conscious yet, but they are favorable, but still, do certain things. So what is the fine line where the distinction between advice versus criticism?
Well, this phrase drista is there again, impudent. Who the heck am I to go and give advice to my parents? They raised me. My mother cleaned my stool when I was a baby. She fed me. She did so many things. My mother came to India just about 6 months before she left her body. And she wasn't a devotee. She came to India and she was just very curious to see what I was doing. So I took her to Tirupati and to Mayapur and to Jagannath Puri and different places. And she wanted to start chanting japa. I was a little discouraging. I just took a policy to completely not preach to her at all. And I was just her friend, her son, my position. But I introduced her to other people who were a little older, ladies, especially in Mayapur. She started going to Mangalartik every day in Mayapur because some of her friends there said, it's really cool, it's really mystical, you should come, it's such a far out thing. And then she started going to Tul Krishna Prabhu's Bhagavad Gita class, amazing classes, and she just loved the Gita. It came indirectly from me, not directly. So that would be my suggestion. Generally, and not just with our parents, but with any senior person, they don't want to hear from us. And if we try to say something, not only is it ineffective, but it's actually improper. And we're being hypocritical in a sense. Because really we're trying to say that you should follow this culture, right? That's what we want. Follow this Vedic culture. But what is this Vedic culture all about? This Vedic culture is about being humble and offering proper respect to seniors. And I'm breaking that by preaching to you, by giving you advice. So it's a hypocritical thing. And people may pick up on that. Now it depends on your relationship. My mother was asking me some advice and things. I was very careful. I really didn't want to give that to her. Rather, I wanted to teach her by my example, getting up early in the morning and chanting, and it worked. Radha Govinda Maharaj, when he first joined ISKCON, he's from, where is he from, Krishna Kon? Bihar, thank you. He went back to his village in Bihar, and Radha Govinda Maharaj, he was a very shy kind of person. He's not very outgoing. Went back to his village, and he just learned from Prabhupada, I should get up early in the morning at 4 o'clock, do Mangal Arati, chant 16 rounds. And so he started doing that in his home by himself, and he didn't tell anybody. After a few days, his mother noticed, what are you doing? And she started going to Mangal Arati. And then his brothers started noticing, well, that's pretty good. And so the brothers started going. Then the father started going. Before he left, there was like 60 people in the village going to Mangal Arati. And he didn't preach to any of them. That's really the art of preaching. I would suggest like that. I don't know your exact relationship with them, if they have so much faith in you, but I think that's an extremely rare thing. That the parents have so much faith in the child that they're going to ask them in a genuine, humble way for advice. Rather, we give it in a different kind of way, a backhanded way, or by introducing them some other devotees or something. That would be my humble suggestion. But would you have something?
I was reading Prabhupada's purports, one of the purports regarding offenses. Srila Prabhupada writes that there are 3 ways one can commit an offense: through body, through actions, and through words. Sometimes, it's, let's say you have some problem, it's because of my own conditioning, let's say, I'm not able to get along with a devotee, so I try to maintain a distance. Is that maintaining a distance equal to an offense, like bodily offense?
In the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, when it describes the behavior of a Madhyamadikari, one of the things that it says is that we practice upeksha, or neglect, when we see envy. And what does upeksha mean? Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that upeksha doesn't mean that I punch him in the nose if I see someone doing something envious, But I don't see it. I neglect it. I let them go. And in that way, we don't get involved in any controversy with the person. We don't get involved in any fights or anything like that. And we can teach someone through our good behavior. If someone doesn't have faith in us, it's something I always think about in book distribution. What do? You want to give someone a book, you really want to help them, but they don't want to take it. Then what can you do? Is there anything we can do? There's one thing we can do. We can impress them by our good behavior. When they see, wow, this person, I just came, I remember once in Seattle, Washington, we were doing Harinam. One devotee was distributing books, and somebody came and said, wow, can I have one of those? Yeah. And he handed him a Bhagavad Gita, and the man smiled with a very sweet smile, and then he opened the book and started ripping the pages out. And then he threw the book on the ground and started stomping on it. We had to stop the Harinam to grab the devotee because he's going to punch that person. So what can we do with someone so demoniac or something like that? You can't say anything to them. It's not going to help to punch them. And even sometimes devotees can be maybe not always so sattvic, but by our own behavior, by our humility, by our tolerance, by our kindness and depth of compassion, if they see that, then they'll develop faith in us. Because Ashradadana Vimukhi Pashandati is Chopadesha Shiva Nama Aparadha. The ninth offense of the holy name is to preach to someone who doesn't have faith. We can't speak to them, they don't have. So we have to create that faith by being a saintly person. And that's one of the greatest lessons I ever got years ago from Vaisheshika Prabhu. He's saying that you're not selling the book, you're selling yourself. You should be so ecstatic when people meet you. They say, wow, I want to be like this guy. I want to be like this person. What have they got? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mataji had something, maybe last thing, and we should stop. Can we pass that mic back up? Is that one working? Is that mic working?
Just had a question on that mantra you said that he got that allowed him to get darshan. Is that available in the Srimad Bhagavatam?
I don't know exactly what mantra he got, but we know a better mantra. And by chanting this mantra, we'll also get darshan, and many, many thousands of devotees, we could say, I think millions of persons have gotten darshan by chanting this mantra. And you know what I'm going to say, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. It's not mentioned which particular mantra that he got, but with great confidence I can say what I just did say, because this is a mantra for Kali Yuga. This is a mantra for this age. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Harinam Chintamani, Name prasvatita hoy rupa guna karma. That if you chant this name, you'll see Krishna. The first thing will be you'll see Krishna's form, his rup, then guna, then karma. This is the meaning of art. Paintings, the Patachitra art and Orissa. Traditionally it's a type of sadhana by which one can try to see the Lord. And the Lord appears in their heart and it comes out through the brush and that way, or he appears in so many different ways. For us, he'll appear through our chanting. Krishna, all of a sudden we'll see Krishna's form, rup, and then we'll understand his qualities, and then we'll see his Lila, his pastimes. Okay? All right, so I'd like to stop there. I'm sorry for going so late. Is it okay if we start again at 11:15? So there's a full hour for everybody? Okay, I have to get permission from Makaravad. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go so late. I wasn't sure how much discussion there would be. I would have stopped a little earlier. I'll be careful. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki, Gaur Premanande, Vanchakalpadarubhischa, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.